Do you want to know the secret to growing a thriving, healthy garden without breaking the bank? Well, it all starts with turning trash into treasure, a treasure trove of nutrients. And today we're going to be exploring two ways that I've been using to create the most amazing compost, this free resource that I have available and anybody can tap into as well, and how it's actually helped my garden thrive. So let's dive into the secret life of plants and how compost helps them. So it seems that Monty wants to hang out with us today while we learn about compost, and let's hope he doesn't bump the microphone too much. But there are a couple of types of compost that we can make at our homes or wherever you are. There's vermicompost, obviously using worms to decompose the waste. There's then anaerobic and aerobic. So anaerobic is without oxygen and aerobic is with oxygen. So it just depends on how you are using that compost, or making it rather. And so you could have like a bin type of compost situation where you're just chucking food scraps and little weeds and that sort of thing into a bin. You're kind of limited on size there. Then you've got windrows. So that's where you would have a large scale compost production, and you'd have large piles, and those get turned and aerated on a regular basis. Then you've got aerated static piles. Then you've got tumblers. So think of like a barrel that then can get rotated and tumbled and aerated in that way, but you're still sort of limited on size and space, or not space, but the volume that you can create. Then there's leaf compost. You could then take a type of fencing or a mesh or something and make like a cylinder out of fencing, and as tall as you want, and fill that with leaves. But you'd need a lot of leaves to do that. And then the leaf mold, the stuff that starts breaking that down, the natural bacteria that are on those leaves, that starts to break down and have a really, really fungal rich compost at the end of this. Very, very good. But you just need a lot of leaves. So if you've got them, then awesome. Then you've got the anaerobic, so the one without oxygen, and that's typically the bokashi type of ones, where you've got a bucket and you're just alternating food scraps with some bran, and that just helps to ferment the food scraps effectively. But the large scale compost that I use is very little food scraps in it. I actually don't use any food scraps in our compost. It's more just garden waste, which we'll touch on. And you can also then just bury the waste itself, so that'll then just compost slowly over time. It's important also to know about the ratios. So what is the right ratio to create a really good compost? But let's I've been sitting here in front of the one type of compost that we make over here. This would be like a static pile compost that we make. These get very, very hot, which is what you want. You want a really hot compost that's going to break down all that waste really quickly. And then we're going to head over to one of the other ones that I make as well. Kind of walking around with a cat backpack over here. And you'll see behind me now, we're going to talk about this in this video a lot more. This is the slow compost. How I've made this, what I do, the process, and how we make that one over there as well. But the right ratios is about a 25-to-1 ratio to get a really good compost. So that the 25 would be green, so anything leafy materials like this, and you'll see on the screen all the kinds of right materials for the greens, versus the one of the 25, that'll be your brown stuff. So that could be paper, cardboard, woody material, wood shavings, wood chips, those even dried leaves. So if they're not green and they've gone dry, that's when you would be considering those the brown materials or the carbon-rich materials. So the 25 or 30 to 1 ratio is a green to brown ratio. The browner it is, the slower it's going to compost, as well as you're not going to get it's just not as good of a compost and it's not going to get as hot, in my experience. It will get hot for sure, because you can just compost wood shavings and eventually those will break down, but you're going to get a better result when you've got that good ratio going. So yeah, I'm going to let Monty just stop stabbing me in the back with all these claws, and we're going to learn a little bit more about compost. So hope you enjoy the videos that I filmed a little while ago on the two types of compost that we've been making here. What I want to teach you or share with you today is how I am doing 2 different types of composting. This, as you can see, is a big old pile of bags, but what's inside these bags is wood shavings. So wood shavings, horse poop, bits of straw, and this all comes from a stable, horse stables. So if you've got horse stables in your area and you have a big enough space to do this kind of thing, then I would go and make friends with the stables. Sometimes they make their own compost, sometimes they don't. They just want to get rid of this stuff. So just go to your nearest horse stables, if you've got a bakkie or a trailer or a truck or whatever, to get this stuff to you. I fortunately have the ability to have the guys actually bring the stuff straight to me. Yeah, that's really helpful. I just pay them in the vegetables that we grow, and they're really happy with that. So I'm going to be wheelbarrowing this, that tiny little wheelbarrow, I need to get a bigger one, into the slow composter over there. And the slow composter is basically just this big gladiator kind of ring that I've made just to add all the stuff that I don't have the time to turn in a normal composting setup. And so this is just slow composting, like the name would suggest. And I'm not turning it, I'm not watering it, it's just the rain has been watering it. It still gets very hot. So the center is probably very, very hot and cooking a lot. But over time, that temperature will die down because it'll get too hot and kill the bacteria. And there's no additional oxygen and stuff introduced there, so the temperature will drop, and then it'll just slowly compost over time. And so in 6 months or more, I will then just take that down and spread that compost around that area to turn that into a garden bed. So that's the idea, is that I want to do as little work as possible, and so I don't want to move stuff too many times. So I'm moving this once to there, letting it sit, and then I'll just take down the walls, or the poles and the shade net that I've used. I'll go into how I've actually created that as well. Yeah, so that's slow composting, and then I'll show you the other method of how I do faster composting, hot compost, with the rows and the plastic sheet over it, and that gets really, really hot as well. That's what actually kills the bad bugs, as well as the seeds and stuff that you don't really want. I do have a lot of tree seeds that are surviving the hot composting, which is actually good because of the syntropic approach that I'm taking and the permaculture approach. I want a lot of support species trees, and a lot of those trees actually come from the landscapers that drop off all of their waste here as well. So I'm just going to share a little bit more about the construction of the slow composter, how I've made it. You'll see the breakdown of how I've made it, but I'm just going to talk through it. Basically, these gum poles, they've just been planted in the ground, about 600 mils down. They're not a fence post. At fence post, you'd plant about 800 mil in the ground. Then what I've done also is just mounted this shade net to the interior of the poles. So they're coming on the inside. How I would improve this setup is put a wire mesh or a fencing first, and then the shade net, or you could even replace the shade net with a tarp. The tarp would probably be better because then it would keep the moisture in over here. so that the moisture isn't escaping out of this, because you want the whole thing to retain the moisture so that it composts. So that's what I would do to change it. It's just what's really nice about this is that you can thread the shade net through with a rope and just make easy access, and that's just to hold everything together. You'll see how where the fencing would help to stop these bulges over here. I've used wire to try and stop that, but it hasn't really helped a lot. So to improve that, that's where the fencing would help a lot. So I mean, not in all places that it's bulged like that, but it just pulls down the shade net a little bit. So yeah, this is really nice. It keeps a lot of compost in one space, and it's lasagna layered effectively. All the worms are going to come up through this and start breaking this down as well, which is really, really nice. So it'll be vermicompost, and there's already mushrooms growing in here. So this is inoculated already with mushrooms. So as it cools down, the mushrooms are going to take over, breaking it down along with the worms, and it's going to make a really, really healthy compost. It's just, it will compact down further and further over time, but that comes with the territory. Whereas a hot compost, you're not going to lose as much volume as you would with a cold composting setup like this. So here we've got another pile of horse manure and wood shavings. We've gotten a lot of loads this week. This is about 2 loads from the source that we get it from, the stables. And I'm going to be using this to create a different kind of compost. The other one was a slow compost. This would be turning into a faster compost, which gets turned on a weekly basis. It's a lot more work, but it's a lot faster process. You could probably turn this into a compost or like a semi-composted mulch even within about 20 days, let's just say a month, by turning it preferably every 4 days, but with the help that I've got, I can only get it turned once a week. So it is what it is, and you work with what you've got. And yeah, so I'm going to show you about where I'm going to put it. Try and get stuff dumped. If you get stuff like this, try and get it dumped at least closer to where you are making the pile, because this is a bit of a walk away, as you'll see, but that's all good. This is a lot of gym workouts. I'm already on 3,000 steps, so not much, but when you're using the wheelbarrow, you don't count many steps, but probably on like 50,000 steps for the morning, for sure. And it's also a lot of lifting, core work. So if you're a keen gardener and you like going to the gym, then this is a best of both worlds. It's like lifting kettlebells and throwing them, or medicine balls, really heavy medicine balls. Even bags of grass and leaves and stuff like that, it also adds up. Anyway, so I'm going to get to loading this up, and yeah, then we'll get ready to do the next load. So here we go. So this is the spot for the next compost pile. We're going to be running it lengthways over here up this little incline, and it's actually going to be, sorry, out of breath, putting all the compost to start this bed over here. So this bed already has existing trees, hope you can see me, existing trees and some other things that I've planted, like there's a what's that thing called? Dragon fruit growing of this tree over here, frangipani, and other trees like these pines and stuff. So those are going to be the support pioneer species for this bed. This bed I want to be also a part of a food forest and carry on from the syntropic style beds that we've got further on over there. And it'll just be interesting to see, because those started without any support trees. This is starting with these support trees already. So there's already some establishment going here, some shade and all that kind of dynamic lighting going on, and different strata and stuff like that. So yeah, they're going to help whatever the trees and shrubs and bushes and whatever that I plant here to start off a little bit better. So it's going to take about a month or so for this compost to be ready. And yeah, then we'll just basically move it right there, so we're not having to move it far. That's the whole thing, is that don't work too many times. Make the compost where you want it to, or close to where you want it to be eventually. Yeah, so I'm going to start offloading this. This is all horse manure, wood shavings, and hay. So the next layer on top of this, I will put like grass clippings, green grass like this, leaves and other kinds of greenery, and then those will be mixed together. It's just I don't have both at the same time right now, but that's ideally what would happen. And then I'm just going to cover it with that green plastic, just to keep the fly population low, because this can have an increase in flies because it is a bit of a breeding ground, but the plastic pretty much stops that, so that's very helpful. So just as a tip for future. And then yeah, enjoy. So basically the steps are just this obviously might be different to wherever you are, whatever you're doing, but that's as simple as it is. And then just making a long row, getting it to about this high, about meter and a half if you can, and about this wide. So that's the ideal width and size. And then this will be about 15 meters long. And then so that will just get mixed. It'll be moved to here and then moved back. That's how you mix it. You start on one end, but we'll show you how that's done. You mix it, turn it to over there, and then just work your way up the pile and just constantly moving it to the next spot. And then the next week, you just move it back. So you need about double that width. So let's say 3 meters wide, in terms of a space to move that. That's what I found is the best way to go about it. So I'm just going to do this. You don't need to watch me pour horse poo on the ground. Can you believe I can go on talking about compost for 20 minutes? Boggles my mind as well. But I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope that you will join us again on the next one as we dive into more secrets in the secret life of plants.